Vortex at Carowinds, possibly one of the most disliked coasters within the coaster enthusiast community. But don't worry, I'm here to tell you why I disagree with that notion, and I honestly think that Vortex at Carowinds is a pretty good ride. So for those of you who are shaking your heads at me right now, if you want to find out why I think this, make sure you stay tuned for the rest of the video. Let's get right to the point here. It is well known within the coaster enthusiast community that one of the most disliked ride models is the stand-up coaster model. But why is that, you might be asking? Well, some people think that stand-up coasters are too rough, the restraints are too blocky, and they allow for too much headbanging, and overall, the intense forces that go to your legs are just not for some people. However, Vortex at Carowinds is easily dubbed as one of the worst stand-up coasters by the community, and I disagree with that. Personally, I had great rides on Vortex, and I'm going to explain to you guys how you can have great rides on Vortex too. So, where do I begin with this? I'm going to start with what I call the stand-up coaster method, and this, in my eyes, is the proper way to ride stand-up coasters. Some enthusiasts within the community will tell you a coaster can't be great if there's a particular way that you have to ride it. Well, I disagree with that. Some coaster models are designed to be ridden a certain way, and I believe stand-up coasters is one of those models. So let's get to the stand-up coaster method. How do you ride a stand-up coaster properly? The first thing you want to make sure of is that the restraints are touching your shoulders. The reason why this is important is because it'll grant you stability to your body throughout the course of the ride. Stabilizing your upper body up to your shoulders will make it harder for the ride's layout to jolt you around, which will help reduce the headbanging that occurs throughout the course of the ride. Headbanging seems to be a marquee complaint for the stand-up coaster model, so reducing that factor as much as possible is going to help you enjoy the ride more. Now, the stand-up coaster method consists of two steps. So the first step was stabilizing your upper body by resting the shoulder restraints on your shoulders. Now the second step you have to be careful of. Ride operators will suggest that you keep your head back against the seat when you ride a coaster. However, the second step to the stand-up coaster method is to actually ride with your head forward. The reason this is useful is because this will help your head get away from the restraint far enough so that the layout can't bobble your head against the rock-hard restraints. But I advise when you attempt this that you use precise caution, because you have to keep in mind that your neck is still going to be in between the restraint, and you don't want to have your neck bobbling against the restraint either. So what I like to do to help against that, and this isn't particularly a part of the stand-up coaster method, but rather on all roller coasters that I know are deemed to be rough, is to brace yourself throughout the layout. Where do you brace yourself, you ask? Well, the best places to brace yourself on a coaster layout is normally when a turn is incoming or you're entering an element, such as the entry to possibly a loop, a corkscrew, or a turnaround. Naturally, if you've ridden a roller coaster before, I'm sure you know what it's like to have your head banged around. So at that point, you can pretty much guess when to brace yourself if you know an element is incoming, and how to brace yourself for possible headbanging. Overall, if you follow these steps like I did when I rode Vortex, then I can pretty much guarantee you're not going to have as bad of a ride as everybody makes it out to be. I will say though, I have a theory on the stand-up coaster method, and I think it applies differently to people's heights. With that said, I'm not exactly sure how it applies to height. However, I believe the shorter you are, the less effective this method becomes. But now that I've explained the stand-up coaster method to you guys, it's time for me to explain why I think Vortex is actually a pretty good ride. Intensity? Well, Vortex has you, fam. If you're looking for intensity, Vortex has it. And while there is more intense rides within Carowinds, such as Afterburn or Fury 325, I still believe that Vortex does justice as a supporting coaster to the Carowinds lineup. In fact, I would rank Vortex pretty high up in Carowinds' coaster collection, not gonna lie. As a supporting coaster, I believe Vortex does what it's supposed to do at the park. You have your bigger and better attractions in Afterburn, Intimidator, and Fury 325, but Vortex offers a generally different ride experience than those coasters do, especially because you're standing up. While Afterburn, which in my opinion is the most intense positive ride at the park, and by intense positive I mean positive G-forces, I think in that department, Vortex is probably top 3 or 4 in the park for that department. And while the layout is rather short, don't let that fool you, because it definitely packs a punch. The loop coming off of the first drop is definitely intense, and I grayed out a bit when I rode the ride. That loop is definitely the highlight of Vortex in my opinion. And while the ride does meander around a little bit with the turnarounds that it has, some of them are pretty intense, especially coming into them. You get a decent amount of intense positive G-forces coming into some of those turnarounds. And then you have the second marquee element on Vortex, which in my opinion is going to be the corkscrew. You come into that corkscrew with great pacing, and it makes for a very intense ride experience there. So overall, Vortex's layout is pretty short, but I think it's a great supporting coaster for what it offers. So say maybe you're not ready to take on the intensity that Afterburn offers, well, your second option is Vortex, and I think it's a good entry level coaster to get you into those intense positive G-forces. Now granted, I will say that the stand-up coaster model isn't for everybody, and if you don't like having intense forces run down your legs, then yeah, Vortex is probably not a coaster you're going to look forward to. And what I mean by that is, on stand-up coaster models, you feel a lot of the pressure of those intense positive G-forces run through your legs, specifically behind your kneecaps. Some people may find that to be a bit painful, and I will admit on some rides it's a little too intense. However, I think that's one of the many things that makes a stand-up coaster model very distinct from the rest. The only thing that I definitely complain about with these models is the restraints. I'm not quite sure why they made the restraints so hard. The thickness and the density of those restraints is often something that plays a key role in the factor of headbanging on stand-up coaster models. Whether the stand-up coaster is designed by Intamin or Bolliger and Maillard, you will find these dense and thick restraints on basically on any of the stand-up coasters that you see in North America. While there is another manufacturer that has made stand-up coasters, I haven't personally ridden one, so I don't know too much about those. But from what I've been made aware of the Togo stand-up models, they have their separate problems. So the point of this video is to encourage you guys to give Vortex a shot. Whether one of your friends or a coaster enthusiast has deterred you from potentially giving Vortex a shot, maybe the stand-up coaster method will work for you. But my goal here was to encourage you guys to try Vortex out and to give my opinion on why I think Vortex isn't necessarily a bad roller coaster. I know many of the coaster enthusiasts that come across this video are going to grab their torches and pitchforks and they're going to run at me at light speed. I'm looking at you, theme park predictions. Please don't kill me for this. That about wraps up this video. If you guys end up trying to ride Vortex and you try to use the stand-up coaster method, drop a comment below and let me know what you think and how it worked out for you. If I managed to help anybody out with this video, then this video has precisely served its purpose. And also, if you already like Vortex as a coaster, be sure to let me know, because you're not alone. I actually enjoy it too. Thanks for watching this video, guys. I truly hope you enjoyed this video and that you continue to stick around for more. I appreciate any of the support that I get on this channel. I will catch you guys on the next video. This is Austin from Derailed Coasters.